is Katherine.
Cyreta.
Hey, how y'all doing? So, like we told you guys, we are going to be having some conversations. And let me just say this. I know I told you to start, but let me say this. Cyreta is a young mom. So, how old are your kids?
They are 3 and 8 months.
3 and 8 months. Okay, so she
3
has
years old and 8 months.
Okay, that's right. And so, and my kids are 2 years apart. And so I've watched her maneuver mothering, and one of the things I can say that I am so impressed with is your dedication to breastfeeding.
Thank you.
I mean, it's like she has been working this thing out, and I'm gonna scoot over a little bit so y'all can see me. She has been working through it, and I'll talk a little bit about my experience later. But Cyreta, just tell me, why is breastfeeding so important for you?
Well, the statistics just show, and science just shows, that it is a better option for children, period, for human babies, for any species, for them to get their milk from their own mom. But in particular, African American babies have suffered a lot in terms of health from not experiencing their own mother's milk or human milk. So breast milk, there's so many different benefits. It boosts their immune system. It will take care of it's just so much. It gives them, like I said, it boosts the immune system. It cuts down a lot of health issues. You're least likely to deal with child obesity if you're breastfed. I'm not so sure how that works, but it is in the statistics. Okay. And the baby literally is a formula specifically for your baby. And so when your baby gets sick, your body reacts to whatever your baby is dealing with. So I know my son unfortunately has had C19 twice. And also what hit the babies really hard this winter or last winter?
I know what you're
RSV.
Yeah.
And when I took him to the emergency room, that nurse looked me in my face and said, "If you weren't breastfeeding, this would be much worse." Really?
Okay.
So that's why. I mean, before all of that's why. And so Namia, my daughter's the oldest, and she breastfed out the gate, but it's very challenging for me. So being a new mom and something new and as demanding as breastfeeding, I wasn't mentally ready for that. It took a whole lot, and I after her, I dealt with heavy postpartum anxiety. So just that demand, as well as trying to just get acclimated to being a mom. Okay. I started her with a little bit of formula when she was like 2 or 3 weeks. And then she'll breastfeed sometimes. And then November of 2019, I'll never forget it. We were at my parents' house, and I went to my mom and my dad's bed, and I propped her up so she could nurse. And her and I just looked at each other. And I was like, "You done?" And she just looked at me, and I said, "Okay, girl, we can be done with this. You can get a bottle. It's okay." You get some formula. It's okay. Yeah. So that was it. But then the pandemic hit a few months later. Okay. And so like formula was flying off the shelves. That's right. And they were talking about boost your immune system and like all of that unknown, all of that ambiguity. And I remember saying, and I tried to relactate.
Oh, okay.
After that, March of 2020, I tried to relactate so bad, but I was like, this is too much. So I promised myself, I said, if I have another baby, I am going to exclusively breastfeed that next baby. Okay. I don't care what is going on. Okay. I'm going to breastfeed that next baby. Okay. Like it was like a me versus me. Okay. And yeah, I'm sorry. I hope that
No, it does answer. And so with Namia, you had the anxiety, and then you had some postpartum challenges. And so with this baby, like what do you think the difference, like when you were like, I'm going to do this, what do you think the difference was?
I think that the pandemic helped a lot. Okay. It helped in terms of, and Namia's a pretty healthy kid, pretty healthy overall. But I believe the pandemic was really no one, and then the formula shortage.
Okay.
I was pregnant when the formula shortage happened.
Okay.
And I remember then I was like, oh no. See, no, they're not gonna play with my baby's formula like this. I remember saying that to myself, like, why is the formulas contaminated and they off the shelves and like the formula Namia used, I've never seen it get back on the shelf.
Really?
Ever.
Wow.
So at that point, I definitely said no one else can be in charge of his nutrition but me. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you were, taking care of your business and making the decisions for your family because that shortage gave them control. Yep.
That I couldn't do it. And watching the news clips of so many moms traveling and panicked, and it was that. And I don't think the formula shortage has really been resolved. Really? So just, it may be better, but it's not. You can still go to any given store and see not as much formula on the shelves.
Okay.
So I just, moms were panicked. Like just the thought of not being able to feed your child. Your infant.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
You're going to do whatever you got to do.
You got it. Okay. So I was like, they're not going to play with us like this. They're not going to play. And I don't know who the they is, but whoever they are.
It was between them and you and your baby. No, I get it. I get it. Wow. And so then as you have done it with your second child, the breastfeeding, what have been the triumphs and the challenges?
Oh, yes. So I'll start with the triumphs and then challenge and then triumph.
Okay.
Because that's literally how it's gone.
Okay.
So the triumph is I have a supportive circle. Okay. So our doula, she has deemed herself, and so have I, as a radical doula. Okay. So she does not do, she is like, you want to breastfeed, sis? We gonna breastfeed. And it ain't no other options.
Okay.
You want to have a natural birth, natural births in terms of unmedicated, we gonna do this. So she is very
okay.
She was very much, we had the birth plan. We talked about down to if I died.
Wow.
So it was if I had to have an emergency surgery or on my deathbed, y'all gonna give my son some of my milk.
Wow.
Period. So,
that's
and then
deep.
And it is, but that's what so we had them in the midst of the pandemic. The hospital was on code red, and so I can only have two people. So it was my husband, it was Shayu, and it was the doula.
Okay.
Because I said, in the event something happens to me, first of all, my mama is gonna want to save my life.
Right.
Of course. Shayu is gonna just be frozen somewhere.
Okay. Your husband.
My husband's going to be somewhere frozen.
Okay.
And the doula is going to have to make what I'm saying on paper.
So it's like a directive for the birthing plan. Okay.
It's actually a legal document. You can actually have your midwife or your doctor sign off on your birth plan. It's a legal binding document. Okay. Especially for now we probably going off into somewhere else, but especially for Black women, our chances of walking out of the hospital after birth is still drastically low than other women in this country. Right. And so it was important for me walking into a hospital as a Black woman with a Nigerian last name for me and my baby to walk up out of here whole. Because so anyway, so that's why I had her with us, and we made a birth plan, and in the birth plan was the steps on breastfeeding. So I ain't need no nurses coming in trying to help us get some formula. No, trying to do the opposite.
Got it.
If it's too hot. No, you can go somewhere, because if I can't do it, you get them some human milk.
Yes.
So anyway. So I put even on the birth plan, if I had to have an emergency surgery, then my son needs to make it to the room within an hour, that golden hour of my letdown of my milk. And my doula was to attach him to me. Wow. Now, thank God none of that happened. Yeah. We were able to latch right away. So I have a really, every birth is blessed, but my birth was smooth. Okay. So anyway, so the latching happened. My husband was super, he was on board too. Oh, yep. Nope. We ain't gonna buy no formula. Let's get this out of here. And I say get this out of here because a famous company who ran out of milk sent us a package of different powder formula when I must have registered somewhere out there in the world.
Okay. I was like, how did they do that? I mean, how did
they sent sensitive, regular, and it was like, I'm not even 20 weeks yet. Y'all sending me formula? Ain't y'all out?
Right.
Like, what is this?
Go to a mama who want it.
So I had to get on social media, ask mamas, like, y'all want this formula? Like, because I had to get that formula out of my house.
Okay.
Because there was no other option.
Okay.
We were going to nurse. And so that was the start. Okay. My mind was made up. My family was on board. My family knew, don't say nothing to me. If this boy ain't sleeping, no, tell him put a little bit of pinch of rice or no oatmeal in his milk. We doing this. So I can say that I had a very supportive squad and support system, and
which is important.
I think it's the foundation of breastfeeding, because if you do not have that support, it's hard. Now I know some women who did not have the support and they still did it. Okay. But so that I had time to be with my baby.
Okay.
So my supervisors were like, you're off. Okay. And you don't come back to 3 months. Like, y'all bond. So, which I know that's another privilege in itself.
Yeah.
That I did not have to return to work immediately, and I was able to establish my milk with him. And then on my birth registry, I put all of the breastfeeding stuff. Okay. I mean, all of the breastfeeding stuff. And the other thing that we had, which is also like this is a gift and a privilege in itself. So we had health spending account. Okay. Which gets into that. Finances and affirmations. So my husband was really good in putting things into our health spending account. And from that, I was able to rent a hospital grade pump. Okay. And I could it's the good one. And it was like a total for me to keep it until he's one is $2,600. Okay. And so that's the triumph. So those are all of the little triumphs. Now some of the challenges is